Terry was way ahead of all of us, ahead of his time, ahead of every dude out there in talking about mental health for men. And what it did for me since 2005 on, I every time I've been on our show, Fox NFL Sunday, I've had a panic attack. I've suffered a massive panic attack every single show. And I didn't know what it was until one day I heard you talking about it about 7 years later. So you kind of led the path for a lot of us. So it's definitely for me. And I don't know if I've ever told you how grateful I am for you for that. But you talking about it, man, has really made a difference in my life.
Well, I think one of the, I believe the major reason why men do not talk about it is because they feel as though it's a sign of weakness. Mm-hmm. And it isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of weakness if you don't do something about it.
Right.
And once you have experienced depression, panic attacks, and you seek help and you get help, you are so overjoyed with the fact that now there's something that can help you be normal and feel good. You asked yourself, why did I go to a doctor sooner? And the main thing, Jay, I've always said to men, look, don't be ashamed of this. Go to a doctor. Right. Go see your doctor and seek help, especially if you want to be able to, in some cases, control it. Right. In other cases, maybe even prevent it. In other cases, is a solution for handling the moment. So I had an opportunity to do that. Same as you. You didn't know what you were dealing with, and right. I didn't either until I finally had such a massive breakdown. I sought help, and when I did that, and they did diagnose me, and I went, wow, this is the greatest moment of my life. Because it's one thing to feel bad. It's another thing not to know why you feel bad.
Sure.
And we all want to know why, we want to know why. And so that was a great moment for me. But it's primarily men just don't want to, we're just macho. Hey, Jay, you've heard me say this. I've had men in a grocery store slide up to me while I'm pulling a can of beans or soup off a shelf and pretend as though they're looking through the shed and say, hey, man, I appreciate what you said about depression. And, I suffer from that too. And I've gotten help and I really appreciate it. And then they slide out. Still.
Isn't that great? Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, but it's men just, for some reason, won't go seek help.
But TB, so listen, I had you. Okay, so you made me more comfortable. So, people always say, oh, you're brave for coming out and talking about your depression, anxiety. I'm like, no. I had somebody before me. I had one of my coworkers talk about it. You didn't. Like, what gave you the courage to finally to be able to come out and speak about it openly?
Well, first of all, I got tired of the sickness, and I was so miserable, Jay, that I didn't know what was wrong with me. Hey, what do I have? What disease? What, I have cancer? What? And if you've ever had a panic attack, a massive panic, as you well know.
Yeah. It was like a heart attack. You feel like you're dying. Yep.
Yeah. And so finally, I went and talked to my preacher quietly and told him. He sent me to a psychologist. And I spent 3 years with the psychologist. I spent 3 years in getting treatment, psychological treatment. And
what year was it? What period of your life was this?
Oh, wow. This
were you playing? Was it after?
No. What happens is when you go back in your life and you go, oh my gosh, there was one, there's one. You start identifying them. They primarily, when I played and all the stress, and I wouldn't say anything to anybody, and I'd go back to the house and be just sick as a dog and scared. And that was while I was playing. And so we were able to, just based on my recollection of events in my life, I was able to find that after a great, like a Super Bowl victory, I'd go into a deep depression. After a great high of anything, I'd go into great depression. And then when I'd go into this depression, I ended up making horrible decisions. I got married coming out of 2 of those when I had no right doing that. I mean, it was such a sickness with me. And when I finally sought help and started seeing the light of day, I was so proud of myself. There's an old saying, psychiatrists say, don't tell your children you're proud of them. Tell them, aren't you proud of yourself? And I was proud of myself for seeking help and getting the answers that I needed. And that's easily, Jay, one of the greatest moments of my life, because those, as you well know, and you're still having them.
Yep.
I told you Sunday I had a bad day, remember?
Yes, you did. Yep.
Yes.
But that's right. We can now talk about things like this openly.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have done that years ago. But go ahead. Tell everybody.
You understood.
Yes.
Howie wouldn't understand it because he doesn't know, and Jimmy certainly wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Kurt wouldn't. But
Terry turned to me the other day. Yep.
Man, I had a bad day yesterday. And I know when I'm in a bad day. Here's another thing. I know I'm skipping around here. My wife knows when I'm having a bad day.
Right.
There's too many signs that give it away. And she comes out and puts her arm around me and she says, what can I do? And she knows I just need to sit and I need to just take some deep breaths. I need to relax and I don't need to be bothered and I don't want to talk. I already been through all of that. I just sit back, sit down, go back through it, and then work myself out of it.
When you said it to me the other day,
yes.
It's so cool for me because I've said it to you. That's really the first time you've leaned into me and said, hey man, I had a bad day. So I was able to be your teammate that day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, beautiful. And I knew it. And you were there and you were Jay Glazer. You were like, what can I do? Anything, you know? I
said, I get you. I understand it. That's it. I get it.
I know
right?
what to do. I had 3 years of sessions. So I know, that was another thing, Jay. One of the real keys for me, I was lucky, I stumbled into this, was to go to therapy sessions because I had to identify what was wrong with me. I had to identify what triggers it. And that's a long time because even as today, I don't take medicines, but I took medicines for a long time.
Right.
Then as I got more educated on depression and understood the triggers of it, I basically tried to avoid them, but sometimes, you can't.
Yeah. Yep.
You can't avoid them. But the other day, it was just a basics. It was a classic example. I tell everybody out there right now, I flew to LA. I've been gone all week. I talked my wife into staying home because I was coming out and coming right back. I moved into a new hotel where you are. So I traveled all week. I was tired. I flew to LA. People were, jumping all over me for pictures and autographs. And I got to the hotel and then I saw you that night at the hotel and with Howie. And my mind was just like this. And when I got back, it was a bad day and I didn't sleep good and just a bad day.
You're times like that, you're just completely out of when we get out of our rhythm, right? When we get out of what makes us comfortable, when we get out of those rocks, right? That the things that we know are our pillars to help us through it, when they're not there, we spiral, right? But now, like I said, now you got a teammate you can turn to and be like, hey man, had a bad day, where neither one of us had that years ago. Dudes didn't have that.
Right. Right.
They do now.
Right.
And listen, you and I aren't looking at each other going, oh, just suck it up. We're like, hey, we got your back. I got your back. That's what dudes got to realize. That's the reaction you're going to get. I got your back.
Hey, listen, I want to tell you something. I was having a moment during an interview with Bryant Gumbel, and it was a real downer interview. It was an appropriate interview. It was a good interview, but it was a really low interview for me. And as the interview went on, I got deeper and deeper and deeper to a point where I broke down on the air. And I wasn't embarrassed at all. You know, I knew where I was going and I was fighting it off. Okay. Now I didn't have my only support group is my doctor. And I passed him off to my wife. And so my wife now I pick the phone up and go, hey, and she's, Tammy, Tammy, man, she's awesome. And I had this breakdown on the HBL thing with Brian Gumbel. And one of our good friends made fun of me when he saw it. And he went, and I told him years later, I said, that hurt. That hurt because I was hurting and that hurt. And he deeply apologized for that. But see, there's why men don't talk about it. Because other men who don't deal with this don't understand. It's like they don't understand. But now, if you pick the phone up and say, TV, I'm having a rough go, man. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's get over let's get off this cliff together. Or the vice versa. When I told you, all I wanted from you was, I just wanted to tell you I had a rough day, and I knew you would understand. It meant the world to me.
Absolutely. And that's what, it's one of the things I tell people all the time. Find your teammates who you can lean into. Like Tammy's one of your teammates. I'm one of your teammates. There's a lot of teammates out there for us that we don't realize are teammates. You find your teammate and you tell them. And a lot of times, exactly, same thing. I don't need anything back to be said to me. I just want to get it out. So I'll tell you, I'll tell Howie, I'll tell Kurt, whatever it is. When I'm having a panic attack now, because I hid the panic attacks from everybody but you for all these years, right? I just hid it from everybody. Yeah. Because also I didn't want to fuck up your show. It's your show. It's your day that day. I've got to handle it. But now that you all know, it's easier for me to just walk over to any one of you and go, oh, fuck, I'm having one of those. Yeah. That's what teammates do.
Yeah. And you know who you can walk over and say that to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's certain people who love you, but they won't handle that very well.
Right.
So we don't involve them.
Right. And that's fine. And that's fine because everybody, every friend has certain certain things they do for us to lift us up. Right. Not everybody's for this, right? There's some people are great training partners. Some people are just great teammates in other ways. 1,000,000%. Hey,